Streamline is your go-to B2B provider. If you're looking for support with procurement, logistics, or your supply chain, we're here to help you find verified UK businesses. Our focus is on supporting the UK economy and helping businesses build stronger and smarter connections. We're all about simplifying success, taking away the overwhelm, and helping you find the right partners to help your business grow. So if you're interested in promoting your services or looking to connect with a business yourself, check out www.streamlineonline.io. Now on to the guest. Today, we're joined by Sandeep Singh Sana, who's co-founder of the Construction Consultants and has a sister company called the Material Consultants. Sandeep is a chartered quantity surveyor and experienced project manager who's a fellow of the Royal Institution of Chartered Surveyors. Welcome, Sandeep.
Thanks for coming, Sandeep. Lovely to meet with you.
Give us an overview. What's the journey? What's the background?
The background is I did a degree in quantity surveying and worked on a year out with Interserve at the time on site, which is quite an experience. In year 3 out of 4 of my course, which then led me to have a sponsorship with them. And then I joined on the opposite side, which is what we call a PQS practice, which is more office based and on the developer end rather than on site. A practice in Birmingham called DBK, and then was at another company called Wakeman's, small practices. Not been a big fan of the corporate world after working with Interserve, and went on to co-found the Construction Consultants in 2017. With my business partner, Alex Pimley, who was also at DBK with me in my team. And now we're 8 bit years on. And I think about 30% of our company is consisting of people from DBK. So I'd like to say we're all friends, really, that have slowly come over. And so we're a practice that has quantity surveyors, project managers, building surveyors, and health and safety consultants, including a commercial team that work with main contractors as their commercial arm and doing all their quantity surveying work, which is quite unique, really, in a small practice like ours. Only 23 of us in total, but we've got quite a wide spectrum of services that we offer. And then last year we went on to open our sister business, which is the Materials Consultants, which again is quite a unique position in that usually companies like ours, multi-disc, won't open or won't delve into the material side of it. Because if you look at it as a vertical spectrum of construction, you've got the developer at the top, and not to say the most important, but just in a way of how it all works. Is I think the whole chain, everyone's equally as important. So you got the developer, you've got us with them, with the design team, then you got the main contractor, and then the main contractor spreads the work out between subcontractors, and then usually the subcontractor will then go and buy all the materials. And what we've created is a business where we've got a direct link right down to ground level in sourcing that material, but we don't hold any material. So there's no margin on the basis of buying from yourself and selling to yourself. It doesn't work like it's a pure consultancy basis, as transparent as it gets, with no rebates or any of the other naughty business that happens in our industry.
That sounds like one hell of a journey. So just talk to us a little bit about that transition from being an employee, working for someone else, working in industry, to actually going and starting your first business and co-founding your first business. How did that kind of look, and what kind of obstacles did you face along the way?
It's an interesting journey, actually, because I've always wanted to have my own business.
Yeah.
But in the field that I'm in quantity surveying, project management, and also construction generally, there's so much to know. You always doubt yourself. Do I know enough? Do I know enough? Regulation changes. Do I know enough? And you kind of keep having that internal sort of battle of, when am I ready? And the big milestone was the company I was at, DBK, and the 3 owners. I was actually really good friends with 2 of them, Steve and Duncan. And in 2016, they got bought by a multidisciplinary practice called RPS, who are worldwide. And DBK, I joined them when there's about 32 of them, something like that. And, we grew right the way up to 160, 170 regional offices and so on. And then RPS came along and bought them, and they were 6,000. And that was it. That was my line in the sand to say, right, I've got as far as I'm going to get with DBK. And I was very open and honest with Stephen Duncan and said to him, guys, I've been thinking about this for a very, very long time. And I don't feel like I'm betraying you in any shape or form, because I think I've paid off my loyalty by you guys being bought out. And they were both, they were, to be fair, really sound. Still talk to them today, and we're friends. So we catch up every so often. And so that was the journey. And the obstacles, I guess, the biggest obstacle was finding new clients.
Yeah. It's
very,
always
very
tough
difficult.
to do that. It's always tough to do that.
Very difficult. Me and Alex both were the technical staff. So we weren't the people to go out and find new clients. So now we're on our own and got this new world of, like, where do we start? Because at DBK, we had certain directors who mainly focused on BD and bringing work in. And they would go find the work and get it so far, and then it will drop on one of our desks. Right, you come in with me to a meeting and take over the job. And we never had that. And we didn't appreciate the value of that role.
Yeah.
We used to always think, oh, this is straightforward. The jobs keep coming.
Yeah.
When we never had that, we never had that understanding of how difficult it will be to become BD people. So it's a very, very steep learning curve, but it took us a while trying to find our feet and how we do it, but meeting different people along that journey and understanding from them what works in our view, what doesn't work, and how we want to do that BD element. So we ended up doing that via our technical ability. So we'd go and see clients and usually ask for some information on a project, even just like, oh, this is what we submitted for planning, or here's a sketch plan from an architect, and then we'll make a whole load of notes and go to the meeting and say, have you thought about party wall agreements? Have you looked at your services coming in? There's a canal there. Have you spoke to Canal Riverside Trust? Everything that we can think of that may have been missed. We used to go, we still do actually, still go and present that to developers so they can see we're not just there to schmooze them and tell them how great we are, because everyone's doing that. So our niche had to be something different, and because we're naturally quite introvert people, it's hard to go there to try and tell them how great we are, because it almost feels weird just saying we're actually good.
Boasting.
Absolutely. So that was our way, and it's gone really well on that basis. And it took a while, but I think we've got there, and we got to the clients and the sectors we wanted to get to, because we've always started off from day one wanting to be cross sector. Because in 2008 and 9, when I was at DBK, we went through a really, really difficult patch, like a lot of people did, but we were heavily into one or two sectors, which they come crumbling down, and it created a big, big problem. So
what sectors do you focus predominantly on?
So we don't. That's
Okay,
so when we said to me and Alex both said to each other, we need to be cross sector.
Right, got you.
But obviously when you start, you do whatever comes your way.
Yeah.
And from there so luckily now we've got a really, really good diverse sector and different directors with different clients. So our client range is huge, right the way from FTSE companies like the Gym Group, Boots Hearing Care, Travel Lodges, right the way down to just a family business.
Yeah.
And we've got one client who's actually exceptional and probably one of the best clients I've ever worked with in my whole career, but they don't want to talk about nothing.
Why such a great client to work with?
They pay the day the invoice goes out.
Dream.
Yeah, absolutely. And I even rang them the first time it happened and said, you do realise you got 30 days to pay this? And they were like, it's a bit of a lesson actually in business. He said, his exact words were, I'm going to have to pay you anyway, whether it's day 1 or day 30. I'm not making a whole load of interest on the money sitting in my bank, but your invoice is sitting on my desk creating clutter. So I'll pay you on day 1.
What a great
I actually love that.
Yeah, and I was like, brilliant. So we've started to we implemented that.
Nice.
So when we get stuff in, we just pay it, because you got to pay it anyway. But what a great lesson, because prior to that, you'd always be listening to people and seeing people pay on day 35, 40, 45, because of whatever reason, it's just the way it worked. That was one reason. But secondly, these are such lovely people. And you always have this perception when you're not in business that the ones who do really well are usually cutthroat, ruthless, and all that, negative connotation that goes towards business owners. And these guys completely buck the trend.
It just goes to show that they've built a great reputation just by being great payers initially, and the rest is followed by being great people. So
and they don't shout at anyone. And the things that gone wrong, construction is full of potential issues. They're very calm, very collected, and very fair. And that's why they're one of our favourite clients.
Love that.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. So sector-wise, we're in industrial, retail, residential, mixed use, leisure, hotels, student resi. So right the way across the spectrum, really.
So the beautiful thing is you do a full 360. You take a full 360 approach to all of your clients. You can advise from the planning right the way through to the construction, right the way through to materials as well. And really take a holistic approach to any issues they may face as well.
Yeah. It's becoming so the TMC business is very, very separate and in its infancy stages, whereas TCC has been going for over 8 years. But what we've ended up doing is we've kind of used the benefits of that business into this. So, live example, yesterday I had a specification from a client who said, I'm doing a deal with this tenant, and he's got to go through the whole planning process, but he's got a 4.5 acre site, and he's got someone who's interested, and they've given him initial heads of terms. So he sent me the spec saying, this spec has come with the heads of terms. What do you think? So I sent it to our guys at TMC saying, can you have a quick review? I'm also going to do a review just to see if there's anything in there that sticks out. And the guys sent over 3 or 4 items that we can replace product-wise that can bring that cost down quite considerably. So it was the use of a certain drainage system that can be replaced for like, but just not a premium product, and the reduction in material cost was about 28%, 30%.
Wow.
So that's one. Then there was a fence type. It had palisade fencing in, and they suggested a mesh wired, which is just as good, but they might say no to it, but it's an idea put forward. And then they had a couple of other ideas on attenuation and also the type of concrete used for the yard. So those kind of things on the detail material side, like the specification codes and so on. I think roof was actually another one, because it's not something that when we as QSs, we do know like the general side of things. So if someone had a certain manufacturer who is like the Rolls Royce of installation, that's one they can easily target to do a product replacement for like, same performance, same U values and so on, but is lower in cost. That's quite easy. But sometimes what happens is you get certain product references that are within just codes, and you don't actually know what that code is. And that's where these guys at TMC are exceptional at this, and they'll pick that one thing up and say that code is referring to this manufacturer, which means you can only buy the whole roof build up from this supplier, and that is the top end of the market. So get rid of that, or put all equal approved. Because when people put in specifications together, it's usually designers, and when they do that, they usually get information that's supplied to them from manufacturers. So these manufacturers obviously want to sell their product, right? So they'll go to the architects and engineers and say, use our product because we've done all the build-up detailing for you. It achieves this U value and is compliant with building regulations.
Right.
And all they do is pick it up from there, drop it onto this drawing information sheet.
Right.
And then it's down to someone in that chain that we discussed, whether it's a main contractor, whether it's a subcontractor, someone along there will need to pick that up and say, actually, we can find something equivalent to that, and then have that as a cost saving. Usually when it gets down to the supply level or supply chain level, someone else will eat that saving up. It generally won't ever come up to the client side unless you got a really good contractor who's, saying, because they want the job, right? So it's either we put forward our value engineering ideas and win the job and win the trust of the client, because there might be other jobs to follow in the pipeline? Or do we keep the saving and not declare it, but then there's no job because everyone's price is too high?
Yeah.
So that's
Sounds very time consuming.
it is. Yeah, it's very technical and time consuming.
So talking a little bit more about TMC, there's a lot of synergies between Streamline and what TMC do. TMC pretty much go out, you source product for clients, you find the best prices, you use AI to actually generate alternative suggestions as well.
Yeah.
Talk to us about how that idea came, where that idea came from, how you conceptualized it, and where you're at right now.
So that it's probably been about 5 years in the making, and it was during COVID when we did a full brainstorm of how do we create a USP in our market, in our field, because we got to a point where we were constantly seeing developers and trying to tell them how, what we're doing that's different and good, and why they should give us an opportunity. And we had some really good ideas, and our processes, systems and templates, all of that made the business in a position that the standardization of our output should be fairly similar across the board. A lot of businesses, they'll leave the surveyors to their own devices. So what you get from me will be different from what they'll get from the next 10, and everyone will have their own variation in whole raft of things, whether it's understanding of a contract, what their letter looks like, what their report looks like, what cash flow goes out, and how that differs. So we were like, we got to change this. So we standardized it all. So everything going out the door should be quite similar. So we thought that was a great USP. And we were going out telling all the clients, and they were almost like, okay, well, yeah, make no and and. So during COVID, we sat down, did a full brainstorm, and one of the things that we had someone we know who's pitching to us for a long time, saying, I've got a really good idea from my own experience, but you've got the platform for it. And that was on the materials. And we kept saying no, because we couldn't understand or see how our world, sitting with the developers, would fit in to this materials world, which is with the supply chain. And we thought we're too far adrift, and there's a whole sequence of main contractor, subcontractor, and then the distributors, and then the materials. We couldn't work it. And then we took on a contractor's QS, and she slotted into our business fantastically well. And she's running that department and bringing in. So then we got closer to the main contractors and understanding their processes, although Charlotte knew it all because that's her whole career has been with main contractors. So her nervousness is joining us and where she would fit in. So on the back of that, we thought, actually, we're a bit closer to this now. Maybe we can really probably use TMC side of things and make this work. But then the next hurdle was where Charlotte sat with a contractor, tendering to subcontractors and liaising with them. They usually buy their own products. Now, if you went to a dry lining and plastering subcontractor, they would usually give you an all-in price, because they'll source the material and they charge a markup on that, and the price of their labour cost, charge a markup on that, head office overhead and profit and so on, and then it comes over to main contractor. And for us, it was a little bit navigating through that of how we can persuade certain supply chain members that that's the usual UK way, but it's not the only way. And if you zoom out of all the detail and look at when a company goes into liquidation, who gets hit the hardest? And it's always the person on the ground.
Yeah.
So if you're a subcontractor who sources all your material, labour, and the person paying you, which would be usually a main contractor, they went bump like ISG did, Henry's did, you're paying that material cost.
Yeah.
And that's the part it took us a while to explain to people, and said, yes, you're not going to make your margin on your material, but look at it this way. If ever the contractor went bump, you're only covering your labour cost, and the material will be paid for by the client. So in a chain of costs where you've got the subcontractor buying the products charging a markup, and all the subcontract quotes come into a main contractor, and then what the main contractor does is collate all those subcontractor quotes, add all their bits and pieces on for premiums, overhead, profits and contingencies and so on. Then they usually apply overhead on top of all of that. So where you've got a brick that might be 75p from manufacturer, subcontractor adds their markup and it'll become 85.
Yeah.
And then a main contractor puts their markup on, it'll become 90, 95. So that's what it's got to the developer. So it's how do we change this? How do we make things different, which actually protects the supply chain, but also provides a saving for the developer?
Yeah.
So it's very, very early stages. So we've done a few trial runs with people we know we trust, who've given us the opportunity to test it, and it's worked really well for them. And it's usually smaller companies who are doing the development and the contracting in-house, although they'll use subcontractors, but they'll say to their subcontractors, right, we're going to provide you the brickwork, blockwork, roof tiles, insulation, plaster, floor tiling, and maybe choose 10 products. And then they'll appoint us to say, right, we want you to source all these materials, and we'll, as a developer, pay for them directly ourselves. And then they're in charge and control of the payments as well, and they make a saving. And all we do is we charge a flat rate per month as being a in-house buyer firm.
That's brilliant. The good thing is they also get to utilise your economies of scale, negotiate better discounts. They've got historic data on what prices have been sold at as well. So it's an all-in-one kind of service for them, which ultimately, as a small business owner, when you're trying to save time, that's what you really need.
And I think that's where our business is really going to should flourish, but it's trying to get in an understanding and explaining to people, look at the time saving you're going to make and the cost saving. So I'll use the example of what we've just done recently, and that was with one of our clients who were building a couple of houses, nothing more than that. And they do everything in-house. So they're a contractor, but they give all the work to subcontractors. They're the developer, so they bought the land and so on. So it's a full 360 for them. And we went in to see them that we can do all your material sourcing. And initially it was like, well, I don't need you because I've got really good rates with one of the national suppliers. So we're like, okay, give us your last 3 months of invoices and we'll do a full audit trail of all your costs to see what you've paid. If you've paid the right price, we'll tell you. And where we think we could have saved you money, we'll tell you that as well. Then it's over to you.
Yeah.
And our fee on that one was $2,500, $3,000 a month. And on that project, it's 12 months. They only needed us for 7 months, 8 months at most. So the cost of a junior member of staff, you're getting over 15 years worth of experience. You're saving time because we'll do all the sourcing for you and it'll be delivered on site when you need it to. And you're going to pay for it all. But you pay us for our time. And then behind the scenes, we've got an AI system which is in seed investment at the moment, and it can do a lot of the work for you. So you're not wasting suppliers' time. Relationships are,
better,
much better. Yeah. And it takes out some of the nuances of your typical tendering, particularly in construction. And we are known as the industry to be decades behind other industries, and we don't like change. Yeah, it's just the way things are. Yeah, and it took us COVID to come before we started using Teams. Believe it or not. Yeah, no one wanted a team or Zoom call. If you said to a developer, architect, engineer, anyone, right, we'll have and we tried it before COVID. Because we had Office 365 when we set up, and we thought, oh, look at all these systems. We're going to try all this, try Teams for our project management tools. And then we thought we can get some real efficiencies, because why do you want to drive down to Canterbury for a 2-hour design team meeting when we can do it on Zoom or Teams?
You just sat there having a meeting for a meeting half the time.
Yeah. And the client was like, how dare you? I'm paying your fee. I want you to be on site, or the architect's office or engineer's office, and you've got to be there in person. COVID happened, and now 60-70% of meetings are on Teams or Zoom, but site ones are going to be on site. That's without a doubt. But you make so much time saving. So that's that industry as an example of how backwards we are.
So just talking about COVID, because we spoke about
Yeah.
this a little bit earlier in terms of like supply chain and all of that. I remember I was going through a house extension during COVID, and I remember the cost of materials went up substantially. So I think there was plaster, for example, plaster boards that
Yeah,
just went crazy.
yeah.
How did that really affect the industry, and how did that affect the supply chain? And how can TMC actually help future proof
Mm.
these
Yeah.
issues from happening again?
Good question, actually. So what we went through were, yes, yeah, difficult times. You know, we had, and partly the reason why a lot of people went bump as well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because they've agreed to fixed price contracts, and yet all the price increases are being covered by the contractors whose margins are already quite low.
Mm.
Some clients and developers, you know, fair play to them, they actually said, we know you got a huge problem,
Mm.
and without some help, you won't make it to the end. So
Support.
we'll chip in and pay for the increases. But there's a shortage. It's not as simple economics as it is
Yeah.
supply demand.
Mm.
And where there was a lack of supply because of COVID, because you know, everything was shut and nothing was coming through, the prices went through the roof.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, well, not a lot, some people didn't make it. Others made it but made a loss and got themselves through. But going forward, if something like that happened again, and coming back to your question about what we could do as a business to help, with TMC, they've got the finger on the pulse because they speak to manufacturers, suppliers on a daily basis. So we as TCC will get notifications when big price increases are happening. So, you know, installation might be going up 8% in 3 months' time. We'll get the notification, so we know. So in our cost plans that we do, we've already factored it in, and we can tell clients this is happening. And if there's anything substantial for any unknown reasons, you know, worldly affairs, then we can advise clients something's cropping up. We suggest that we buy in bulk and have a call off with a supplier, and it might be, you know, it might be bricks. So you'll say to a brick manufacturer, like, we need 100,000 bricks, and we'll pay you a deposit, but keep it at your factory, and we'll call it off as and when we need them to help the clients to sort of, you know, future proof any issues like that cropping up again.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Have you found, like, since working with these companies, maybe initially trying to get, you know, product from them, they would have given you one price. Now they've seen the repetitiveness of you coming back and what you're working with and how you work, because it's so different. They're really being quite competitive for you.
Yeah, because the systems we've got will enable us to give sort of pricing within, you know, the last 30, 60, 90 days. You can see before you make phone calls to suppliers what the mean average of that product is. So when you're calling a supplier, usually what's starting to happen, because as I said, it's still infancy stages for us. What's starting to happen, what they're starting to appreciate, because we do tell them as well, is that we're not ringing around other people and trying to get alternative prices. We know what the median price is, and then we'll just say, look, this is how much quantity we need and when. Can we do a price at this? And for them, it's an easy sale because they're not tendering to then chase us or try and take us out for lunch or the usual industry stuff that happens. So it's very much, the phone rings, there's a deal to be done, unless for whatever reason they don't want to do the deal because, you know, the shortage of that product or, you know, whatever else. But generally, yeah, that's. But I think the more we do of that, the greater the reputation of the business, and also the suppliers know we're not sitting here for rebates either. So they're not paying us nothing at the end of it. And it's a unwritten rule, which I believe is wrong, but seems to happen in our industry a lot. And that part's gone out. So this supplier now talking to us know that what the client's paying is exactly what they're paying. So there's no need to make, you know, 2 or 3% disappear somewhere else because there's a rebate coming. So all of that's gone out the window. So it's as transparent as it can be. So you like to think people are going to enjoy working with us because you haven't got all those issues surrounding a particular sale.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's see where it goes. And it's quite exciting times because it's very different from what others are doing.
Definitely.
And hopefully will result in, you know, people coming to us because they know that the transparency is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What you're describing is a win-win to both customers and suppliers.
Absolutely.
Helping them with their supply chain and helping suppliers make their sales. So it's perfect for everyone. Just in terms of the current market at the moment and the industry where you're at, obviously we touched on this a little bit earlier about how you've gone through the issues over in 2008 when we had the last recession, and how companies have been closing down. There's been a downtrend in terms of what's happening in the industry right now. Just touch on that a little bit and where we're at.
Yeah, so I think I'll go back to our sort of our life as a business owner. We set up in 2017, and the first 12, 18 months were brilliant, in all fairness, because we were still finding our feet, and it's really exciting times because you try something, it works, yeah, you're buzzing. It doesn't work, you're like, oh, okay, right, we move on. We're quite positive people, so always look forwards rather than keep looking in the rear mirror. And it was brilliant. And then the Ukraine war started. Actually, no, let's go back. Brexit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, was a huge mistake because
Yeah.
no one has told me anything that's positive about Brexit yet. Even the people who were, you know, completely bought into the idea have now got their own view of, oh, well, had the deal been this, we would have been here. But because the negotiation was poor, we've ended up where we've ended up. Terrible excuse. So, yeah, Brexit was the initial implication that was coming through, which we could see. There's a bit of movement in various bits and pieces with materials, certain things coming from certain countries, which were a lot tougher. Prices had gone up because of that. And then the other huge impact was labour. So we probably up to that point, we had a lot of Eastern European labour in the construction industry, particularly in London.
Yeah. And
the training in Eastern Europe is completely different. They are multi-skilled craftsmen. In UK, we teach a bricklayer to bricklay, a plasterer to plaster, a roof. That's it. So it's all in silos. These guys, you can get a team to do 2 or 3 trades. And that was the beauty of them. And in all fairness, they're great workers.
Yeah, they are.
There's no denying that. And as much as anyone wants to say, yeah, we've got a really good talent here, of course we have. But generally, they are exceptional what they do. So we had that. So the labour costs were going up now because Eastern Europeans were returning back home because they felt that they weren't wanted here because of Brexit. Because it was, as much as anyone says, it was a vote on immigration at the time to some degree. Not everyone, to some degree. So that happened. Then we had the Ukraine war. So then that threw everything out because gas prices went through the roof, as we all know. And that had a knock-on effect onto manufacturing and product cost. So that went sky high. And as one started to just normalise and sort itself out, so everyone knew what we were doing on imports from Brexit, then we had the Ukraine war. When that started to settle, then we had COVID. And so we've had 3 quite big events in our life as business owners, which have all been difficult. So now we're coming at the third one as well, which is COVID. And we've now got major changes in regulation for property and construction people, because we've got the Building Safety Act, which came out last year, and that created a huge bottleneck in within the local authorities. That which adds on to a planning system which is completely broken.
Yep.
And politicians talk about it, and all they ever do is talk because they never resolve issues. And whatever politician A suggests, B will say it's completely wrong, and I would do the complete opposite, no matter what. And so that we're going through that. On top of that, finance costs are high, so that adds to that. And we did have, actually, just with building regs, we did have building regulation updates as well. So LFSO new regs came in or changes came in, which just meant that we've got to build better buildings in general. Better buildings result in higher cost.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Building Safety Act, which come along as well, which is completely different set of regulations itself. So all in all, I think, actually not, everyone I talked to said the same thing. Construction at the moment is probably is the hardest it's ever been because of regulation changes, general, geopolitical affairs and issues having a link onto that, which we touched upon, finance costs where they are, shortage of people, youngsters wanting to go into construction.
Yeah.
So all of that playing into a
Feels very
perfect storm.
tight, doesn't it? Feels like, where is this going to end up? Especially, talking about having higher premium builds on houses and everything, and they're trying to push for more housing as well. Unaffordable. It's unrealistic for so many.
Yeah. My personal view is that we're kind of going towards like a German model where most people will rent.
Yeah.
Because Germany have been doing it for a very, very long time.
Really?
Yeah, my dad lived in Germany during the late 70s. And when he came to UK, he was like, Germany model's completely different. Everyone's so used to renting; it's the norm. Whereas the British culture has been you own your own home, and you start from the bottom, work your way up.
And then from the renting, is it a lot of the government owning the houses and people are renting from government, or is it still like landlords and similar to what we have here?
In Germany?
Yeah, in Germany.
I don't know. I don't think my dad knew. Don't know.
It's quite an interesting topic though, because there's a lot of news about this coming out online, especially on social media. And a lot of people are saying that the prices of houses are going up through the roof and you're getting institutional buyers going in, buying those houses from people, pushing out landlords from the market, individual landlords. And then you've got the likes of BlackRock going in and buying up all of these houses to actually rent back to people.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be institutional finance that are actually owning the houses and then renting them back to people, which is
I agree.
totally different to kind of how it's
I actually had
been.
a networking event with an estate agent yesterday, and she was saying how they're going to try and make sure that renting is only long term for majority now. Something that's new that's coming in to stop the short term. So they are making it harder. They're making it.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that. I was going to come on to that because BlackRock, they're pumping in £3 billion to buy properties in UK.
Exactly.
And Lloyds Bank have got another arm because one of my friends works there as a development manager, and they are doing exactly the same. Don't know what their numbers are or what they're doing, but they're buying, they're forward purchasing developments, residential developments for exactly what you said, for rental long term.
Yeah.
So
So this is totally different from the picture you kind of see online, and you get these social media influencers to sell their courses, saying that you can make millions in property overnight. It's totally opposite from what they're actually saying and why they're trying to sell their courses. It's actually quite a scary time to be in the development industry right now, right?
Especially if you're a beginner.
Yeah.
For me, I know we've had this discussion.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's the dream to own property, and of course, can be lucrative, right? But from having this discussion and seeing where the industry's been, where it's going, and all of these different things that are coming into the industry, it almost puts me off from getting involved in the industry because there's just so many legislations and new rules.
Yeah, it's tough to navigate through that when you're in the industry. We've got checklists and they're huge, and it's not because we have them for any other reason other than we forget. There's that much to cover,
right?
And we do it as a matter of course. Every project, there's a checklist. You got to go through it for various stages. Now, coming onto these course people online, I've not my favourite people, let's say. And if in any industry, if you set it up to sell a course, it usually means you're going to make more money from the course than actually what you're doing,
Yeah.
unless you're one of the very, very few. And I do know one guy who does this. He's a property developer, so he's done it in quite decent numbers as well. And he doesn't. It's not a course as such, but he's got a mentoring program.
Yeah.
And his objective is very different. It's like, if I can train some people up and any sort of, superstars within there, they can join me. And also he'll become like a JV partner with some of them if they find any good deals. That's very different.
Yeah.
And he's only got a select few, so it's like hands selects the people and doesn't do them very often, occasionally, because there's only so much time you have, right?
Yeah.
Whereas these guys online, or girls, there's a few of them as well, and when they sell these courses, if you look at the numbers, almost guaranteed the majority of their money is coming from the course. And if they are making money from properties, only because they bought 10, 15 years ago, so the yields are at a decent rate now. But in a rising market, most people can make property work.
What's your kind of advice for anyone looking to get into the industry right now in terms of property development?
If you're doing property development from ground up, you've just the key thing is you've got to have professional people with you, and you've got to appoint the right people. If not, you're setting yourself up to fail, and there's no question about it. You're not really going to learn on the job and make it work unless you're really lucky. But even then, without the right architect, engineer, project manager, in whichever capacity, because sometimes the architects do that role as well. You need someone to advise you. But without that, you'll just be handing the site back to the bank if you've got bank finance, or you're ploughing money into a development that's going to get stuck there for a very, very long time. And we've seen this through TCC. There's loads of people who are doing development who haven't got a clue. And we've seen some go bust. Yeah. We've seen some who've lost their houses.
Wow.
Some who started from these courses that we were talking about, and being used as ideal students online, YouTube, and so on. Started with flipping a house and turning it, into a huge, huge property empire on the face of it. Behind the scenes is all highly leveraged, and you only needed the market to sort of level out, and you would have been gone. And they did go, and then they lost their houses on the back of it as well. So those kind of stories people don't talk about.
Also heard of people who've committed suicide over these things as well, that have invested life savings. Been a couple of cases on that.
Yeah, it's a very, very tough world.
Yeah,
and when there's so much to know, my advice would be, if you're going to start off, just start with conventional housing, and how much can possibly go wrong? You buy a old house that needs doing up, you can call the tradespeople in, get it done up, learn from that. If that works well for you, keep going, because new development or major extensions or conversion, there's just so much to know, and a lot of people don't make suitable allowances within their appraisal for the whole professional team.
Just wanted to jump to AI. Obviously, you've built AI into your business. How do you see that kind of playing into the construction industry and supporting it in the future, across other, contractors and developers?
I think there's going to be a big variance in what people implement. So we've had some initial discussions with a couple of companies about pulling together an AI tool to help us with our standardization side of things. So we do various reports for people. So we'll have a monthly financial report, monthly project management report, and prior to that, we'll have a tender report. There's report after report. The process is so long, but usually on a monthly basis, on a project that's on site and being built, we'll have the two that I mentioned. So we're talking to someone to put all that together, so we could have something where we put in the details of the project, and those details go across all the various reports that you need, just to save time. And that's something that we're looking at, but it's going to take a bit of time getting it right, because it's almost like a bespoke system. And there is a ex-colleague of mine who's looking into that, which we're going to support with, and he's looking at doing something similar. So we're almost like seeing what he produces, because if that works, we'll just use that rather than trying to create our own. But I think there's going to be a big range in what people do. You're going to have to use AI. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
It's how much do you use of that to make it work for you. I think one thing that might happen is there might be systems out there where you can throw drawings in and you get the AI to do a lot of the grunt work in terms of measuring. But is anyone going to trust that? Would I? No. I'd still want to do spot checks on it to see is all the interpretation of the drawings being correctly taken on board. So you might use it as a tool to just cross check what you've done, but I don't think it's going to completely take over, because luckily in our world, you're going to need people to build on site. You need someone to come around and have a look. So I don't think AI is going to completely take over. I know some sectors, people are nervous, aren't they?
Yeah.
About how much of their work is going to be taken over by AI. But
I think I read a survey, it said 36% of UK businesses have adapted to AI, which isn't a lot.
No, it's
really.
not.
There's a lot of uneasiness there.
I mean, the good thing is that you're always going to need a plumber, you're always going to need a bricklayer, you're always going to need a plasterer. So I think that's the safety that we've got in terms of the construction industry.
Unless you go on YouTube, which is what I do on weekends.
I actually do that on TikTok. It's a bit of a saviour.
It is, I love those machines where they're with the concrete, they're laying the into the house.
The 3D printed houses.
Yeah. My son looks at it, he's like, what are you watching? He's sitting there watching it. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But whether it comes into implementation is probably a different story, but it does make sense.
Yeah.
If you've got a machine like that, but it's going to be millions of pounds of investment into a machine, and then getting that to work on different types of projects, because we do have we don't always have a flat site which has got loads of working space. Not always the case. So it's gonna a bit like modular construction. Is it really going to take off? There'll be an element of it, but yeah, I think you're right. We'll always need those people, which is good.
Definitely.
We'll see. Have you got anything to add?
No, that's.
I feel like we've covered a lot. It's been a really interesting chat with you, and thank you for coming down. And I feel very excited for you. I feel like you're going to completely change the construction industry and save loads of money, and just really streamlined, no pun intended, how business is done in the industry in what's a really difficult time. So we're happy to and excited to support you guys as well. And if you are in the construction industry, hopefully you're listening to this, make sure you check the guys out. We'll put all of the details in the captions below. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.